Jeani? Okay. Now, just so you know, the fact is, Jeani is the last person that we're going to have as speaker. But she's going to talk not only about Jerry Danner, her father, but Jerry and Max had 2 brothers that did not live to have children. And she'll tell you. I don't want to step into her.
Jerry?
Yes. Yeah, question.
You have 2 minutes.
He's passing it on to me. Okay. Yeah, because I'm doing 3 people.
My time.
It's rolling over.
All right. Well, this is here.
I have a confession to make. I was supposed to bring a music stand for her pictures.
But now she has to hold them.
So now I get to hold them.
Okay, so I start with, well, congratulations for staying awake all afternoon. And feel free to stretch. Okay, I have good news. I am the finale, and I will keep it brief, sort of. I am talking about 3 people, though. So I am Jeani Danner Parr. I'm the only child of Jerry Danner, not that Jerry Danner, but another Jerry Danner, and his wife Jane. This is my daughter Susie. She's one of my 4 amazing daughters. And my dad's father was Harry, the cute little guy there, in this well-known 1904 picture of Amos and Ann and their 6 surviving children. And I was saying, by the way, without them we wouldn't be here, and with a little help from Jay. You know, because we wouldn't be here without you either. So thank you, Jay. So little Harry grew up, and after serving in World War I, he married Genevieve, and they started a family and had 4 sons. Think. Next. It's in your book on page 79, okay? I was a teacher, so 2nd grade teachers coming out in me. You've already heard about Max, their 2nd son. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my dad and his 2 brothers, and they are 2 uncles that I never met. So just, yeah, that's fine. So this is a photo of Franz, page 93. In your book. He was born in 1928, and he was Harry and Genevieve's 3rd son. I don't know him, but his report cards show that he was so bright and conscientious, because we're savers and we have all of his report cards. I will even have his birth certificate. But he loved animals, especially dogs, and it sadly appears that around the time of 4th grade, Franz contracted.
That was his.
Oh, good. I'm still going. Franz contracted rheumatic fever, which is a complication of strep throat, scarlet fever, and this was before the days of penicillin that we take for granted. So it shows in his report cards in the last part of 4th grade, he missed lots of school and repeated 4th grade, and then his grades were terrible, and it just aches because I think he was so conscientious, and then he had all this illness from school. So he was a Boy Scout, and he wrote 2 special poems that Genevieve had saved, one about scouting and one about his parents. Genevieve saved those poems along with some other things that it looked like she was wanting to create a scrapbook. When he, I left this off. I left off that after missing lots of school, 4 years of an illness, he did pass away at the age of 13. So Genevieve had these things saved and stuck in like a photo album, and never made the photo album. I figured her grief kind of got in the way. And then she lost another son. So we'll get on to this next one. I did make a scrapbook finally of the things Genevieve had saved for Franz, and it's over there with the cover stuck to my cover of what Genevieve had picked out for him. So you can take a peek at that. So the next one is Jack, also on page 93. Jack was the oldest, so he was the first of their 4 boys. He was born in 1923, and I have pictures of him with bicycles and violins and traveling with the family. But the thing I most remember is he always was fascinated with airplanes, and I remember that there was a dresser covered with decals of airplanes. He wanted to be a pilot so bad. And after graduating from high school in 1941, he had a year at Purdue before going into the Second World War. It says he was with the Marine Corps for a brief tour of duty in an infantry regiment, and then he almost fulfilled his dream of becoming a Marine fighter pilot. He went through pre-training, pilot training, and he was an aviation cadet stationed in Pensacola, Florida. Tragically, less than 1 week before he was scheduled to receive his commission, Jack and his flight instructor perished in a thunderstorm over the Gulf of Mexico. And there was an intensive search. They never found the plane, no oil slick, or any survivors. So that was, I can't even imagine how hard that must have been for the family. My dad would have been 10 at the time, and he had just lost Franz, that 13-year-old, 10 months later. So they went
10 months earlier.
Yeah, 10 months.
Earlier.
Yeah, thank you.
So
You
Fran,
listen.
yes, and
Yeah.
then 10
Yeah.
months later.
To go from
he was
4
lost.
sons to 2. Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I will tell you a little about my dad. Let's see. Oh, back to the brother picture. He is the adorable little guy. I'm not prejudiced. He's the adorable little one.
The little
He's
one.
the little guy. He's on page 81 with more pictures. And I found this a lot harder to do for him than the other two. It's harder emotionally. Plus, I know him so much better. There's so much to talk about. You might think that after the devastating losses of his 2 brothers, and he had other tragedies in his life, that he might have become like a melancholy, mopey man. But that's not him. He seems to possess a huge appreciation for life and just a desire to make life better for everybody around him. If you had known him, I'm absolutely sure you would have liked him. He was an all-around terrific guy. In fact, his parents actually my parents, kind of remind me of Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore on the old show where they were Rob and Laura Petrie. And so that's what you can kind of picture if you're old enough to remember that TV show. My dad was just funny and good-natured, just like Rob Petrie. So he's kind, personable, full of humor, creative, conscientious, and I think he used his skills and resources to just be an active participant in whatever group he was in, or what I was in, whether it was I was a swim team, or he was just always helpful. He was genuinely interested in those around him, and I think people felt that. It sounds like it kind of runs in the family from what many of you shared. He saw everyone as equal and treated everyone with respect, just no matter what their background. And I have no memories of my dad ever getting angry. I don't think a lot of people can say that, so I thought I might mention. I mean, he got annoyed maybe, but when he was trying to teach me how to drive a stick shift or whatever, but not mad. He just was never mad. So my mom used these words to describe him in a note to me after he passed away early. And she said, "Jeannie, your daddy was very special, unique if you will. There are few people born who are totally unselfish. Your daddy was one of those people. He was truly happy and content, most happy and content when he was caring and doing for others." And so today I have 3 quick examples for you of his kindness that just permeated his life. My dad adored his nieces and nephews, and sorry, so many of them got COVID and not here today. But one of my cousins recently confided in me that my dad was the closest thing he had to a father, and I thought that was really sweet. My dad was close to the Danner cousins because they lived so close to us, and they were treated to birthday dinners of their choice at our house every year. And my dad taught the 3 boys to play golf, and they spent lots of casual time together. Every Christmas, Dad used his amazing woodworking skills to creatively build them a handmade game. And this is before the years of Googling it to know how to make things. I don't know how he figured out to create these fantastic games, but he made a foosball table and a tabletop croquet game, and we remember a couple different football games, and then the baseball game was everybody's favorite with marbles, and it looked like an arcade game, and you flip the marbles up it was great. My cousin Jay got his love of golf from my dad, who not only taught the 3 boys how to play the game correctly, but also that fairness is just as important as winning. Okay, second example is of a teenage boy who is in our family named Ron, and he actually was my cousin Lenny's boyfriend in high school, but that doesn't anymore. Since she's not here, I can tell you that. Anyway, so Ron became part of our family, and he was like a brother to me and a son to my mom and dad. And my dad and him would go fishing all the time, and he would go with my dad taking his boys club kids on field trips, doing home improvement jobs around our house. They would do big stuff like a whole new roof, or putting on a rec room adding the rec room in the basement to a really livable place. And my dad made a deal with Ron that he would pay him double for all of his help if he would put his money towards college. And really, Ron became the first in his family to be able to go to college, and he is such a down-to-earth, wonderful, successful man. It's just delightful to be around him. And he graduated with Jay, right? Yeah. My final example that I'm going to share with you is my dad's time and effort spent with the Atkins Boys Club of Indianapolis. He developed and worked with, you could flip that over to the little boys. This is not in your book. I found these at the last minute, some of the pictures he had of his boys club. He developed and worked with this group of little 9 and 10-year-old boys, energetic. They called themselves the Booster Club. And he enriched their lives just exposing them to things they had never done before, like playing baseball with the group or hiking and fishing. He took them to Clues Hall. There's stories about that trip. They were not the most well-mannered little guys. And he also, Rhodes, what's our
Carl Rhodes.
Carl Rhodes had an airplane and drove for the company. And so he had Carl arrange for taking all the little boys up in their first airplane ride. So my dad also started the first annual fish fry that the club had, and it was a big fundraiser. And he kind of was in various board positions, and he inspired many friends and Danner employees to join in the efforts of the club. If you go down the list, you can recognize a lot of names, including Wally Williams. He was very involved. I remember my dad was always lamenting about the extremely difficult home situations that many of his Booster Club boys had to live with. And Dad always wished that he could do more. So despite having passed his physical with flying colors, he collapsed and did pass away early one morning. He was only 42, and I was 19. That loss was big for our family. It was big for the company. And it was big for the world, I think. He continues to be deeply missed. Everybody breathe, including me. Okay, I'm not going to leave it with a sad ending. We're going to get a little happier. Okay, so this is the happier ending. My dad, who always wished that he could do more for the boys' club, is still helping them now that it's a boys and girls club, and it's 47 years later. In 1975, the Jerry Danner Scholarship Fund was created, and its endowment was kicked off by just thousands and thousands of dollars given by generous people when he passed away. And so many people had experienced being with his kindness and generosity that they wanted to do something for something that was so meaningful to him. So it's just amazing that it's still going today. Even now, donations come in, and to date, there have been over 100 scholars, both boys and girls, who have received funds from my dad's scholarships to defray some of their expenses. And those that show determination have even gotten multiple years of scholarships. For college. I think there's just a life lesson there in that you just don't know how far the kindness and generosity that you show in your life, how far it's going to go or how long it's going to go. Here it's 47 years later, and I'm telling you about this, is still this year. There's 2 kids going to school on some money that he, because of him. So I did want to mention, and I'm going to just put this up by the scrapbooks that I have. I made a scrapbook for Jack, his brother, in the pilot we just disappeared, as well as Franz. And this is my dad's scholarship. If anybody cares to donate to those scholarship kids, I'm going to just put this up on the table. It tells where to make your check out to, and I don't have a Venmo thing. But anyway, and I want to say, I am just amazed at this booklet that this lady, standing ovation for Martha. own our Mr. Get Together. Thank you, Jay. And Deb. And I'm saving her for the last. And he's only getting things together because he's got Deb. That's really behind getting it all together. So thank you. All right.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Sure.
Jerry, you don't have anything to say? We're after 4 o'clock, okay? We're close, though.
Sure if he did.
Elaine, I think she's going to cut me off pretty quick here. Hey, again, I do want to wrap it up. Want to thank everybody for coming. I think we've done a really good job of letting everyone here know about what we call the 6th generation. They were our parents, our grandparents, in some cases our great-grandparents. They went through the Depression, the war, and having us. Some of them, and raising us, the 7th generation. I'm so proud of all of you. Thank you for coming, and I hope we get a chance to meet again sometime. You bet. Thank you. Love you.